Hi, I'm Caroline and this is Bookish Brits, and for the entire month of February we are celebrating love. Well, I don't know about you, but I have really been enjoying my fellow Bookish Brits love posts this month, and I know that there are still a few more, so I hope that you are as excited as I am to find out just what my Bookish Brits colleagues love about certain books. So today it's my turn and I want to talk to you about why I love audiobooks. Audiobooks. I know that they are not everybody's cup of tea, and I am here now to sell them to you and try and convince you to give them a try. So first and foremost, I just adore storytelling in all forms. I love movies and TV shows, I love music, and of course I love books. And when it comes to books, I also love them in all forms. So I'm quite happy to read an ebook, and I'm equally as happy to read a paperback or a hardback. But one of the forms that I really do enjoy is audiobooks. So for me, audiobooks are the ultimate form of multitasking. Not only can I be getting on with my chores for the day, whether it's ferrying the kids around or performing DIY or cleaning the house or doing the shopping, I can also be listening to my stories at the same time. So for me, it's just another way of squeezing in a little bit more storytelling into my day. Not only does it provide me with up to 2 hours of extra story time a day, I tend to find that because it's additional time to my usual evening reading, I kind of feel like it is for me. They are my books, and it's my time to read what I want to read. I'm choosing those stories purely for me and what I fancy. It's not based on publisher dates, it's not based on deadlines for the blog, it's purely for me, and that is a real treat. That I personally have really enjoyed being read to again. There's something really comforting and decadent about being read to, and there are certain stories that I find suit this really, really well. I've particularly enjoyed the first 2 books in the Raven cycle. With Maggie Stiefvater's previous books, her narrative is very poetic and very beautiful, and at times I've actually found myself pausing, rereading passages, reading passages aloud just to kind of hear how they sound. And so for me, that kind of book was perfect as an audiobook because it meant that I could have the whole thing read to me. It was just beautiful. And the narrator, Will Patton, was absolutely perfect for that book. Another reason that I love audiobooks is that I am a bit of a gluttonous reader, and I like to be able to sit and read a book in a single sitting, or at least within a couple of days. And so I find larger books quite intimidating. So I know that there are books on my shelf and I have not read them yet purely because that they are 400 pages plus. So for me, reading an audiobook means that I have to listen to it in smaller segments at half an hour or an hour at a time, and that means that I have to sit and savour. But it seems less intimidating knowing that, okay, I'm going to listen to this every day for a week or 2 weeks, rather than thinking, well, it's going to take me 4 whole evenings or 5 evenings to read this book. One of my favourite audiobooks is The Diviners by Libya Bray. If you look at that book, it is a monster of a book. It is over 400 pages long and quite intimidating to start. So I found for me it was perfect. I had to listen to it in bite-sized chunks. It probably took me about 2.5 to 3 weeks to listen to, but it went really well. One of the reasons I absolutely love that book is that the performance is amazing. The narrator actress, January Lavoie, was superb. There are so many characters in this book, and she gave each character a distinctive voice, and it really was just wonderful. It was like a play going on in my mind. A couple of the unexpected advantages for me personally listening to audiobooks is, the first one is I've found that ordinarily I am quite monogamous as far as my reading is concerned. And like Faye, I can't read multiple books at one time, or at least I thought. I've recently looked into how I read, and what I've discovered is that why I can't read multiple ebooks or multiple paper books at the same time. I find that I can be reading a paperback and an ebook and then listening to an audiobook in the same time period. There's perhaps something about the different formats that actually I find it easy to keep the 3 stories distinct, even if they are quite similar in themes and genres. And another interesting side effect of listening to audiobooks while doing my dog walk is I found that when I'm not listening to audiobooks and I happen to retrace particular routes, I remember parts of stories I've listened to. So there's a certain part in A Local Forest which is all about Augustus Waters, and there is a certain route that I take that reminds me of the moment we first come across Ronan's house in The Dream Thieves, and there's a certain corner on the street that reminds me of the house in The Diviners. It's added an extra layer onto my enjoyment and remembering stories and enjoying stories even weeks later after I've initially read them. Some of the downsides of listening to audiobooks is that I get completely wrapped up in the world that I'm listening to. So probably not the best to be listening to creepy books like Michelle Harrison's Unrest or Libia Bray's The Diviners while walking my dog at night. That was probably not the best. Also, I made the mistake of listening to The Fault in Our Stars on audiobook, and let me tell you, snot-filled ugly crying is particularly embarrassing in public. I think one of the main reasons that people have issues with audiobooks is, one, they are pretty expensive compared to your average paperback or ebook. And so I know this puts a lot of people off trying them in the first place. So my advice to you there would be to look around, check out audiobook sales, try the free trials. Next tip, and I've learnt this the hard way, is to not really digress, at least initially, from what you know. The only time I really disliked an audiobook was when I picked an anthology of short stories. It was an adult book. It was something that I wouldn't ordinarily have read, but I thought I'd give it a try, and for me it just fell flat. Not only that, but I didn't listen to a sample of the narrator, and I just could not get on with the narrator's voice. Just like with your reading books, read the reviews, obviously check that firstly that it's a story that you're really interested in, and listen to the samples of the narrators just to check that that voice is something that you can tolerate. My next tip is to experiment with them and how you listen to them. So for me personally, I find that if I just sit there and attempt to listen to an audiobook, unless it's kind of the last couple of chapters, I'm really in the thick of the action, I find that I get very easily distracted and my mind starts to wander and I realise that I haven't been listening. So for me, I need to be doing something physical while I'm listening. So that's usually doing the housework or walking the dog. Whereas my fellow bookish Brit Faye has found that actually she needs to be sat down and focused on listening to the book, and she has found that if she tries doing something else, that's when her mind wanders. So I think it's really important to experiment with how you listen to them. It's really worthwhile checking out your audiobook provider. Some will actually provide a no quibbles returns policy. That can be just if you DNF'd a particular audiobook, or even if you got to the end of the book. I have heard stories of people finishing a whole book and just not enjoying it and still being able to return it. And also it's really important, like with reading a regular book, you need to give feedback. So if you have found a book particularly challenging to listen to, just like you would review a paper or an ebook, let people know why you found it challenging, because it might not have been your cup of tea, but for somebody else that might be exactly what they're looking for, or it might also help somebody else avoid those particular pitfalls. Like when you're buying paper or ebooks, it's really important that you do your research. So check out those reviews, listen to those samples, look around for prices. You might find that actually the cheapest way to go is to subscribe to a particular company, or you might find for you it's just waiting for the sales to come up. So there you go. I'm hoping that some of you will perhaps try some audiobooks. If you do listen to any fantastic ones and you recommend them, please write reviews. Let me know what audiobooks you've listened to and you've enjoyed, because I'm always looking for recommendations. Yeah. So happy February, happy love month, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time.